Julian Sawyer shined. The defense pitched a shutout. Everybody got involved in Ohio State's 70-0 win over Grambling State.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to Locked On Buckeyes Live after Ohio State's 70-0 shutout over Grambling State. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens podcast. And this show is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm also a veteran sports talk host delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And this Locked On Buckeyes Live episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Football season is here. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. During this live reaction show, we'll discuss the young Bucks that got involved while they got extended playing time, as well as what Julian Sawyer showed us during the Buckeyes win. But before we get to any of that, in any game you play, you want to make sure the opponent gets the full treatment of your team. If you are strong defensively, you want to make sure your opponent gets every single strong facet of that side of the ball. If you're an offensive team that likes to air the ball out, you want to make sure that your opponent gets that treatment. Well, in today's game, Grambling State knew when they came into the shoe that they were overmatched. I mean, even the head coach of Grambling State made some comments about, we know why we're here. And they came in, they played the football, and Ohio State gave them the full Ohio State treatment, where the Buckeyes from Jump Street got up, took control of the game early. Julian Sawyer was slicing and dicing, wheeling and dealing all day long. And the next thing you know, the Buckeyes have a 70-0 win in an 8 quarters of football. Ohio State has only given up one touchdown. That's going to be a theme coming up probably on Monday and Tuesday's show. But this game today, it was a total team effort. From Julian Sawyer to Jeremiah Smith to the 5 starting offensive linemen to the 5 tight ends that played early in the game, earlier than normal, to the young Bucks like a Raleigh Pettijohn or some of the others, Zion Grady and Joshua Mickens and others, some of those other guys that don't really play a lot or they're true freshmen, and they got playing time. Everybody contributed to today's win. And I think for Ryan Day, a coach that is put in a situation today that he could have been a coach that said, oh, no, mail it in. You don't need to go all out. No, he said, the starters, we're going to open up the playbook just a little bit so Julian Sawyer can get comfortable airing the ball out. And he showed everybody he can slice and dice, wheel and deal all day long. From the defense to the side of the ball, where they know what they did last week was great last week, but they had to have another great performance once again today, and they accomplished that goal for Ohio State to have this team this year. After what they had last year, which was a phenomenal playoff push, one of the best playoff push we have ever seen, because it was the first time it was a 12-team playoff, and Ohio State played 4 ranked teams in a row en route to winning the national championship. You lose a lot of guys from last year's team. And in this game, there may be the hangover from the Texas game. You're not number 1 in the country. That X is on your back. And the next thing you know, Ohio State rolls into this game after the Texas win. There is no hangover. There is no layoff. There is no letdown performance. Even the letdown performance, you could still have a win, but you still could have allowed Grambling State to get some traction and to gain some confidence. They didn't allow that to happen. I mean, granted, you get a shutout when their field goal kicker missed a kick. So what probably should have been a 70-3 win, it is a 70-0 win based off of a missed kick. I'm here for that. But everybody got involved. They were well prepared. They didn't shy away from what was happening. And I'm glad that Ohio State was able to have this performance where even when you air it out a little bit and get Julian Sawyer to really play phenomenal football, his only incompletion was an interception. Sawyer went 18 for 19 for 306, 4 tuds. I mean, he was the dude, the absolute dude. I believe he completed his first 16 passes in this game, where you're looking at, he was 10 for 10 in the first half, over 200 passing yards. One of the Buckeyes' execution goals in this game for our show was for Sawyer to have over 250 passing yards. Now, that was my goal because I kind of assumed that Ryan Day would kind of open up the playbook a little bit and start to air it out. He didn't have to. He could have had another conservative approach and said, look, we know we can win, but we don't want to show too much. We don't want to go outside of the vanilla blueprint we currently have. So we're going to just kind of ease on into this thing. No, what Ryan Day said was, we're going to open up the playbook just a little bit and allow our young quarterback, who is a first-time starter and his second start, to be able to air the thing out and to see what it's like to drop back and pass. You could see from the first drive. The Buckeyes had a 6-play scoring drive to open the game. 2 of those 6 plays in that scoring drive were runs. The other 4 were passes, and it was some pretty good accuracy from Sayin. But also from the defensive side of the ball, when you have a quarterback that's really athletic, like a lot of guys on Grambling State are, and you hold that guy, Xavier, and test it to 55 passing yards. He was 9 of 15, 55 passing yards. He did throw an interception. That was a Caleb Downs interception that, my goodness, Caleb Downs is a lot of fun to watch. And the more I watch him play, the more I am finding my eyes get really, really big because of the plays that he makes. I think earlier in that drive, before the interception, he lined up in the A gap and then dropped back into coverage on the opposite hash mark, opposite the gap he was in, and he forces a third down incompletion. I think it was the very next drive, actually, he lined up in the B gap and he got the interception. But when he lined up in the B gap, he took 3 or 4 steps forward like he was going to blitz. Next thing you know, he drops back into coverage, kind of a late delay to figure out if he's going to blitz or if he's going to be in coverage. But when he drops back into coverage, he goes right into the passing lane where the receiver was coming right over the middle. Caleb Downs drops back, catches the ball, and I'm sitting here thinking, this guy, this young man, is so much fun to watch that even in year 3 of Downs playing college football, in year number 3, in year 2 of him being a Buckeye, there are still plays where we are oohing and eyeing, and some of us are maybe losing our minds because of how great he is. But it's a great performance by Ohio State, not just Caleb Downs. Anytime you score 70 points and you hold the other team to 0, that's a great win. That is a great win. I know it's Grambling State. I know it's the FCS school. But the FCS school could have come in and said, well, we're going to play our A game. And I think Grambling State put the best foot forward. I believe they came in with a game plan like, we know some things we can do very, very well. While we are a little bit smaller and overmatched, we can potentially find Ohio State sleeping and take advantage of it. They couldn't. They couldn't do that at all. Rushing the ball, they held Grambling State to under 100 yards on the ground, 33 carries, 94 rushing yards, 2.8 yards a pop. You can't be upset with that. That's a great performance. Those are by the numbers. But our eyeballs told us that what this team is currently doing and the path they're currently on, you're not only going to have an A game from your team to beat Ohio State, you're going to have an A++ game. Because Ohio State has so many different ways to attack you. The only real complaint I might have, and I don't want to complain too early in the show, but the only real complaint I might have is the fact that Ohio State starting or main guys in the defensive front didn't really get a lot of pressure on Tessett at all. And that was really the main complaint that even during the broadcast, Jake Button, Jeff Levering brought up. It was the fact that there weren't many pressures on the quarterback. The quarterback rolled out one way or rolled out another, and there wasn't the pressure. And that needs to change. That is one thing that cannot stay the same, because if you're Ohio State, which you are, you got to realize you got to get pressure on a quarterback and on a team, especially if they're down, if they're not as good as you, because that's going to help them gain confidence. In Big Ten play, that is something that's going to have to change. And I think moving forward, starting tomorrow, whenever they watch film, you're going to find in the Ohio game, maybe it is going to be Matt Patricia doing some different things schematically, but also it's going to be some guys getting after it a little bit more, getting pressure on the quarterback. You know, a guy that was getting after it today, he wears number 10. He's number 10 in the roster. He might be number 1 in your heart. His name is Julian Sawyer, because that boy was wheeling and dealing all day long. This episode is brought to you by DoorDash. It's the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks. saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Ohio State, it's easy. Julian Sawyer delivered in a big way. He was 18 of 19, had 306 yards through the air, and 4 touchdowns. Once again, this young man is showing everybody why he is a right man to be Ohio State's QB1. When the pressure was on, Julian Sawyer came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance wasn't a fluke. Julian Sawyer is on a streak. And just like Julian Sawyer delivered for Ohio State, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash streaks. You save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. This episode is also brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. They follow what moves them every time they drive. And that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety, style, and performance to deliver a driving experience that feels alive in every detail. You can feel it the moment you get behind the wheel. The smooth handling, intuitive controls, and standard all-wheel drive in every crossover SUV. Whether it's a quick drive to practice or a weekend road trip, Mazda makes even everyday drives feel special. It's the small details that make the big plays, and just like there's more to every player, there's more to a Mazda. Mazda, move and be moved. Thank you all for tapping in Locked On Buckeyes live after Ohio State's 70-0 shutout win over Grambling State. And during this win, the narrative throughout the week was that Ryan Day considered, or really was open to, opening up the playbook. Not really considered, but going from the Texas game plan, which was very, very conservative, to a game plan today, which was, let's air this thing out a little bit and let's get Julian Sawyer to begin to build some chemistry with Ohio State's receivers. It was very clear. He had already built chemistry outside of the game film, putting them in time in a real game experience, opening up the playbook, and what you find is Julian Sawyer is that dude. And I don't say that very loosely. I don't want to come out here and just start throwing nicknames out to people. Or if I say you that dude, you got to be doing something really, really big time. And Caleb Downs mentioned him earlier. He is that dude. Jeremiah Smith, that dude. Carnell Tate, that dude. Ohio State has a lot of dudes on this team, and number 10 is one of them. In this game, I'll go over it once again. He was 18 for 19, 306 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, which we will definitely touch on in a little bit. He had 16.1 yards per completion. And it wasn't like he was just throwing to number 4, throwing to number 17. No, he got a lot of guys involved. Now, these numbers, I'm not going to say every throw that he threw was to X, Y, or Z, but Max Clear had a catch for 7 yards. Brendan Ennis had 3 catches for 29. Will Kazmarek had 2 for 55 and a touchdown threat, receiving threat. Will Kazmarek is becoming an all-around tight end. Carnell Tate 5 for 69 and a touchdown. And the Jeremiah Smith 5 for 119 and 2 touchdowns in this game. His long touchdown, the longest pass that Julian Sawyer threw today of 87 yards to Jeremiah Smith for a touchdown, that was the longest pass in Ohio Stadium history. A stadium that's been around for over 100 years. And this year's redshirt freshman from Southern California is the quarterback to throw the longest pass in Ohio Stadium history. You know what? Clap it up. Clap it up for Julian Sawyer, man. Every time we watch him play, we learn more and more about him, and we get to see exactly what he is made of. Against Texas, while his stat line wasn't sexy, he wasn't a problem. Wasn't a problem at all. 13 of 20 in that game. He would have been 16 of 20 if 3 of those passes that were dropped were actually caught as they should have been. You look at a different guy that would have been, 80%? He would have probably had over 200 passing yards. I guess they're really good defense. I mean, you're looking at Julian Sawyer's debut, a whole lot better than we already view it. He was graded out as a champion a week ago. Guarantee he's going to be graded out as a champion today. He's going to continue to stockpile more Buckeye Leave decals on his helmet because this young man is special. very, very special. And on that first touchdown pass that he threw I believe that was to Will Kazmarek, a 47-yard touchdown pass to Will Kazmarek. It was an RPO. And some of you guys realize I've become a pretty big fan of RPOs, especially if your quarterback knows how to read and to move forward and is not a little bit timid with the read at the line of scrimmage to hand the ball off or to throw the ball. Well, on the RPO, he made the right read. The timing was ideal, and he had the trust in a guy that's not normally known as a receiving threat in Will Kazmarek. But maybe on film, going forward, Ohio and then Washington and Illinois going forward after that, maybe you're going to have to find, I think it's actually Minnesota after Washington. Anyways, we'll get there in a little bit. But you're going to have to find that more defenses are going to have to put more Ohio State guys in their game plan. Because you can't just worry about Max Clare and Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis. All of a sudden, you have a Will Kazmarek who is a guy that can catch the ball over the middle and skedaddle his way to the end zone. You have a guy in Jelani Thurman who is showing the necessary steps that he needs to take in his career. You have a guy like a Nate Roberts and a Bennett Christian that are big boy assets in this offense. This is a team in an offense that's going to put so much on film that if I am Ohio, let's just stick to one opponent. I know that I'm overmatched and I can't handle Ohio State. But now if I'm an opposing defensive coordinator, opposing head coach, all of a sudden I got to realize and look, I got to worry about this guy and that guy and that guy and that guy. And wait, let's just say next week is a week that Ohio State gets their running game going a little bit more. Where the running game today was better than it was a week ago. The Buckeyes actually accomplished that execution goal as well. Let's recap that really quickly, as I hadn't really hit that yet. The execution goals, and I actually changed one up after the show because I realized the boy was being a little bit too nice. The execution goals after the fact, the finalized ones for this game. Julian Sawyer was to throw for over 250 passing yards. The Buckeyes were to rush for over 250 passing yards. The third down conversion rate for Grambling State was supposed to be 33%. It was 50% during the show. Turned up the intensity just a little bit. And then the Buckeyes were supposed to have force two turnovers. That's the word. Force two turnovers and then get 4 sacks. The Buckeyes passing yards, Julian Sawyer had 306. Check that box. The rushing game, the Buckeyes had 274. You can check that box as well. And the rushing game was pretty good. A lot of that production came from the young players. I don't have the percentage right in front of me, but Grambling State was 3 of 14 on third down. And so I'm going to do that math right here. That's not ideal, but I think we'll be just fine. 21% on third down. They checked that box. They did force 2 turnovers. And the sack number, I don't believe they got the 4 sacks. So almost got all of them. You can't really complain with a lot of the things that happened. They had the time of possession. Ohio State themselves as a team, 5 for 7 on third down. They did convert the only 4th down attempt that they had. As a team, the Buckeyes had 651 total yards of offense. Y'all, this team that right now, they're supposed to bring their game plan, bring a dominant performance, and let's see what happens after that. This team is good. This team is really, really, really good. Buckeyes had 2 sacks today. One was by Zion Grady, and the other was by Caden Curry. You can't really complain about a lot of what you saw today. One of the complaints was lack of pass rush, but that may be it as far as like macro complaints. There are minor complaints, but for macro complaints in this game, the only thing that can truly be complained about is the lack of pressure on the quarterback. But if I know Larry Johnson, Patricia, and even Ryan Day, that is going to change. With how quickly these guys have bought into the new system that they're working with this year, it ain't going to take that long to change and to turn up the intensity for the Buckeyes to get more pressure on the opposing quarterback. The opposing quarterback, it doesn't like playing Ohio State's defense, but Ohio State's young guys really enjoyed the extended playing time that they saw during Ohio State's big-time win on Saturday afternoon. Hey, Ohio State fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash back at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code FOOTBALL and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code FOOTBALL for a limited time 25 cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code FOOTBALL. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. This episode of Locked on Buckeyes Live is also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Once again, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by using FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Thank you all for tapping in to Locked on Buckeyes Live after Ohio State's 70-0 win over Grambling State. Emphasis on that zero. That's a goose egg. And I said this stat earlier. I want to say it again. It's going to be a theme probably on Monday and Tuesday's shows. The Buckeyes have played 8 quarters of football and have only allowed 1 touchdown in those 8 quarters. And that touchdown came in the latter part of the fourth quarter against Texas. Texas scored with less than 3.5 minutes to go in the season opener for both teams. That context is big because it speaks volumes about how elite Ohio State's defense has played so far. Yeah, they have more room to grow and they have ways to get better, but this is a great start for the Buckeyes defense. This was also a great opportunity for a lot of youngsters at Ohio State who were getting extended playing time for the first time this year. You got to see Lincoln Kienholz being the backup quarterback for Ohio State for the first time in his career, getting some extended playing time. You saw Tavion St. Clair get on the field as well. You got to see Bo Jackson score his first touchdowns at Ohio State. His first touchdown came on his first carry of his career. Bo Jackson scored 1. The other touchdown would have been a Bo Jackson touchdown. It was called back. And then Sam Williams-Dixon scored his first touchdown of his Buckeye career as well. Isaiah West got 8 carries. He scored his first touchdown. Who else was on my list here? Raleigh Pettijohn had a scoop and score and then had a forced fumble on the very next drive. Zion Grady had his first sack of his Buckeye career. Those are just a few of the names. Trust me, there are more names we could detail because when I said earlier that everybody got involved, that wasn't a fluke. Everybody and their mama got involved. And that's to be first, hats off to the coaches for one, knowing this is going to be a game when youngsters can't get in, but also getting them ready to play and prepared for battle. For Tavion St. Clair, let's stick there for a little bit because he's one of Ohio's kids, and a lot of people, even my buddy Jeff Hunt, who lives in Ohio and knows people that know Tavion St. Clair, they were curious to see what it was going to look like. And what you saw today is not going to be Tavion St. Clair down the road. He is primarily the scout team quarterback. You're not even running your own offense most of the time when you're in practice. And so for him to go out there were a lot of handoffs, which isn't a problem. It was mop-up duty. It was really happy that Ryan Day allowed these guys to go out there and play because Ryan Day could have said, we're going to kind of let our foot off the gas a little bit, and we're not going to go out there and try to continue to score even with our backups in our third string. Some guys are even on the fourth strings at Ohio State. Ohio State didn't do that. Tavion St. Clair, by the numbers, at least passing, he was 0 for 2. I'm not really mad about that. Lincoln Kienholz was 6 for 7 with 71 passing yards and a touchdown. Great. Phenomenal. Efficient outing for him. I am not upset with Tavion St. Clair going 0 for 2. Not. Why? Because he was primarily handing the ball off to guys like Isaiah West, Bo Jackson, Sam Williams-Dixon. He was primarily handing the ball off to those guys who did a phenomenal job in their debuts as Ohio State. Well, not Dixon. It's his second year, but first time getting extended playing time this year. They did a great job. One of the plays that I really love, now this is offensively, going to touch on the defense in a second because I can't gloss over Zion Grady and Riley Pettijohn and TJ Alford and some of those other guys that just made some big boy plays. Fahim Delane, didn't forget about you, one of those guys that I've been really looking forward to watching play. Ohio State, I don't know if they scored on this play, but I believe it was a reverse pivot counter, as I said during the game, where the quarterback does a reverse pivot. It's normal counter blocking, two guys pulling around, and you're trying to fake going one way, then going to another, and it worked very, very well. And then all of a sudden, they didn't really do the reverse pivot counter. They did the straight counter over and over and over again. And what did you find? Blocking was really, really good up front. The mesh point was good between the quarterback and the running back. The running path and the track was really good by the running back. There was a one time where a tight end didn't block. I think it was Brody Lennon, and he got called out during the broadcast. Not mad about it. Didn't block anybody. But Ohio State's Young Bucks in this game showed why they're at Ohio State and that they have the goods. They have what it takes. David Adolph had a catch today. Got to see Quincy Porter out on the field. Bryson Rogers was out there as well. A guy in year 3 that I think is going to take a massive step as we get into Big Ten play. Mylan Graham, Phillip Bell. Hey, man, Bell got popped. Maybe it was more of a young quarterback kind of leading his guy to get popped, but that defender, that DB from Grambling State went there, saw that midsection was wide open, and he said, pop, right there. And you can see Phillip Bell's body kind of bend a little bit. Y'all, trust me, that stuff hurts. That stuff really hurts. Ian Moore, Jake Cook, the Armstrong boys were out there and did a really good job. Really happy for even Javen McFadden, the true freshman that's coming in and making his own name in the number 71 jersey. Loved what I saw from some of the young guys on defense. Jarquez Carter, who has been hyped up a lot over the past couple of weeks, got to get in there and play. Eric Mensah, Joshua Mickens. Got to call my dad about Mickens. My family knows some of Mickens' people, so I wanted to call my dad and talk to him about Mickens getting on the playing field. Epi Cicinelli. Zion Grady, man, he is going to be one of them dudes. I didn't realize he was up to 260 pounds. I knew that he was a highly sought after guy in high school. And when he got to Ohio State, got on the practice field and then got to the summer workouts and in the training camp, he was getting a lot of love from the older guys that are saying, oh, he might be the next one there. And I believe CJ Hicks is on the Bobby Carpenter show. And he said, oh, Zion and Epi, they're next up. They are them. And I love that the Polynesian flavor from Tuimoloau to Epi is staying with the number 4 jersey. I saw that. I was like, hey, hats off, man. Hats off. I'm still learning some of the young guys' numbers and matching their numbers with the look on the field. So if I look out there and see 44, if I assume it's Epi Cicinelli, there are reasons why. And that's just kind of how I have to work with IDing certain things. But this is a total team effort. Complete team effort. You can't get upset in the macro about what happened. Grambling State knew they were overmatched. Ohio State knew they had firepower. They could have easily scored 100 points. My wife actually turned into a historian during the game and looked up the last time Ohio State scored 100 points. It was 1918 against Oberlin College. The final score was 128-0. Shout out to my wife for doing the research during the game and coming back with that little nugget. That wasn't a Jerry Emig thing that came to me. That was some research my wife did. So, Whitney, appreciate it. And looking forward to seeing more of this team moving forward. And maybe we're going to get some more of those nuggets from my wife that we don't normally touch on the nuggets that she brings in. But if she's a good analyst, if she wants to bring some news and some historical facts to us, we're going to relay them right here to you on this show. Remember, we mentioned something that's going to come up tomorrow. We mentioned it on Friday that there will be a Sunday show. What will we be talking about? Well, you got to come back tomorrow morning to find that out. That'll be on YouTube and any audio podcast platform out there that you utilize right now. It'll come out at the normal times. Audio comes out at midnight Eastern. The video on the YouTube comes out at 5 a.m. Eastern time. That's an everyday thing. So moving forward, we're going to get some extra shows in, 7 a week potentially. If there's some urgent news, we'll get some more of that coming out in the times and that is been released. But man, it's a fun show. It was a fun game to watch. Got to see the young Bucks ball. Got to see the older Bucks ball. Got to see Julian Sawyer shine. I mean, lots to like about this year's Ohio State team. They're 2-0. And what's the best thing about being 2-0? A chance to go 3-0. And being 2-0 is big for Ohio State. And it's another big moment on Locked On because Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. Locked On Buckeyes Live is complete after Ohio State's 70-0 win over the Grambling State Tigers. We'll be back tomorrow to react to more nuggets that came out of Ohio State's shutout win.